We start this adventure out with a long car ride from the southern tip of Sinai in a city called Sharm el-Sheikh to go meet up with some nomadic desert people, also known as the Bedwins. You see, they were kind enough to take us into their land to show us their fishing spots that are unreachable by those who don't know this land. And as they say, the best destinations have the roughest path. This was no lie for this spot. Getting out there was sketchy. Underneath me are razor-sharp rocks and corals that if we didn't have wetsuits, our stomachs would look like grated Parmesan. I mean, it is rough. These waves are violating us in ways I cannot say on YouTube. But after a long swim out, we get to the drop-off. And don't get me wrong, this is not very safe. This is borderline dangerous. But the danger never stops us. We were told to drop in here and drift with the current to the actual hunting ground, just in case we'd come across a doggy or a big GT. The rest of the crew will meet us with cars at the actual hunting ground.
Bro, how the fuck did we even get out here?
And after almost an hour drifting and nothing showing up, we arrive at what I like to call the crack of life. You see, in my last video, we were hunting very shallow water and not a single fish over 2 kilos was shot. This video is the opposite. I make my very first dive of the day, and I'm looking for a big parrotfish. As requested by the Bedouins, we must shoot them some dinner, and they love parrotfish, and so do I. And from the rocks appears this beautiful parrot. I quickly take my shot, but the placement sucks, and the fish is going absolutely monkey nuts. This thing is scrambling to find any hole he can go through, and I'm scrambling to untangle all the gun line before I run out of air. But unfortunately, I do run out of air, so I leave the fish and the gun behind to go breathe. And as I'm breathing up, here comes the Doms. Like an absolute water gladiator, a knight in shining armor, with my gun and my fish. That's what I call a quality dive buddy. This next dive is a little bit deeper. We're still on the mission to shoot the Bedouins some dinner, and they want a little variety, so I'm coming down to find them a grouper. And here comes a peacock-hind grouper. Delicious fish, really good size. Please subscribe. And with the fish secured, I head straight to the surface. This fish is dedicated to my buddy Rod from Bangladesh, because it looks like you. Quick lobotomy, as usual. Maybe 10 minutes ago, this thing just had its last meal, only to become a meal itself. Crazy how that works. And with a nice colorful variety secured for the Bedouins, it's time for us to go after the big boys. This water is much deeper. The seafloor sits about 27 to 30 meters, and there is a lot of bait. So I go down to scope it out. It's pretty hard to see what's down there from the surface. I'm down almost 20 meters. And surely we're thinking with all this bait, we're certain to see something with some good size, hunting these little bait fish. As you can see, I have quite the long swim up. The Doms is waiting for me about 10 meters down, and as I said before, 11 out of 10 dive buddy. And lo and behold, here come the predators. I dive down to maybe 10 meters just to scope it out and see exactly what they are, and we quickly realize they are a really big bohar snapper. The bohar snapper is basically the Indo-Pacific version of a cubera. They don't get quite as big, but they're very strong fish and very good to eat. They're extremely wary, however, very smart fish, so I go down and try to lure them with some of their favorite noises. This big snapper decides to come in a little bit closer, so I fixate on this fish. And with a pretty shitty breathe up, I go down to 17 meters, but I'm quite limited on air. I take my shot, but the fish is just out of range. So he spooks down, and the bohar are gone. And as I ascend, the Doms goes down. He's about 25 meters down, and I can see he shot something, but I can't tell what it is. He ascends, hauling up this big redmouth grouper. Delicious fish, very rare to see around here. And with the fish bag getting more and more heavy, it's beer time, while we wait for the sun to come out. And miraculously, the sun shows itself, and so do the coral trout. I approach her very slowly. These fish often just hold their ground and look at you. They're pretty confident fish, so I take my shot. It's not the stone shot I was hoping for, but it's a really good holding shot, right through the gill plate. And with this thing pulling drag, which was set quite tight, I realized I did not shoot a small fish. You can see she's making a run for any cover she can find, but sadly her options are quite limited. This is typical grouper behavior. These fish have a very cool life cycle. All of them start out their life as females. They swim in groups up to 3, and the most dominant fish will transition into a male. So technically, I just shot a tranny. You can do as you wish with that information. And when you look closely, you can see there is a much bigger coral trout, watching the other one, wondering what the hell is going on. This is likely to be the dominant male. It's a good thing I didn't shoot this fish, because there's much fewer males than there are females. These fish also take a very long time to grow. The one I shot is probably 5 years old. I'll estimate that other fish to weigh over 7 kilos, meaning it's probably an 8 to 10-year-old fish. And after a short fight, the coral trout is exhausted, and it wasn't until I got it in my hands where I realized the true size of this fish. This was no small grouper. This thing weighed in at about 4.6 kilos, which for me is my PB, for this point of the video at least. I'm alone, and I find this wonderful sized barracuda. Not too big where you risk sig, not too small where you feel bad shooting it. The shot lands low, and this thing takes off. I use my hand to slow him down a little bit, and the fight is on. Keep watching. It's about to get really, really sketchy. You see here, there is no current, so all this reel line in the water is just bunching up, and there's a high risk of me getting tangled up in it, which could lead to a very sticky situation. And with the shot not being too good, I really didn't want to put too much tension on this fish. Especially after that big run, I would guess that it tore that spear a little bit through its body, and I was right. It was barely holding on to its stomach. This fight went on for about 5 minutes, and although I have no dive buddy with me, I am not alone. So at this point I'm worrying about holding my breath, worrying about the barracuda, keeping the line untangled, and keeping myself out of the line. And just when I thought things couldn't get more hectic, in comes a 2-meter moray eel, and it's coming straight for my cuda. You see, in the Atlantic and the Caribbean, you guys have sharks. In the Red Sea, we have morays, and they're very aggressive. These things are a nuisance. The eel has found itself a little hole to camp out in, and at this point, I'm just hoping it doesn't go for the cuda. I didn't do all that work for nothing, and I'm sure as hell not gonna let some bitch-ass eel take my fish. And at this point I get a little bit nervous. The eel just retreated into the rock, and I don't see him for a few seconds. But on the bright side, the fish is exhausted, and now it's crunch time. I can see the shad is just hanging by a thread of skin, so I cannot put any tension on this fish and risk a tear off. I make an eel check, and I see he's just moved right underneath me. He's getting a little bit too close for comfort, and he's waiting for that fish to go towards the seafloor so he can strike. So I give him the finger, because fuck you, eel. Nothing comes for free. If I gotta work like this, you gotta work too. And the eel's looking pretty sad as the cuda comes closer and closer to me. So I want to get this over with as quickly as possible. So when the cuda comes in reach, I waste no time. And it tears off. And that is the sound of depression. But the depression does not last very long, because in this next clip, well, I'm not going to spoil it. You guys got to watch to find out. I move out a little bit deeper. Seafloor here is about 16, 18 meters, something like that, and I find a perfect place for me to settle in. But that eel has been stalking me. It's followed me out to this spot, and I've lost sight of it. So I check the rocks and make sure there's nothing long and slimy, aside from me, of course. And after the eel check, I settle in at the bottom. And before I can make a single fish call, in comes a golden opportunity. The shot lands low again, but it holds up, and he makes a run straight for the structure. So I swim around to get that line out of this rock. And you see, when I shot that cuda, I was alone. So this time, I've recruited my 35 kilo, 150 centimeter friend. We'll call her Borat. And she's giving me the double thumbs up of approval. I hand the gun off to Borat before I go down to deal with this thing.
You hold this, I'm gonna go down and get him.
And to my surprise, the fish has untangled himself. So I don't really need to go all the way down. I hang out in the middle of the water column and start horsing him up. Now once again, with a bad shot, I do not want to put too much tension on the fish. I've already had one tear off. I do not want a second one. But the trevally is exhausted, and the moray is nowhere to be seen, which is good news for me. And once again, no current, line getting wrapped up in my fins, but this time I have a competent dive buddy. Well, dive buddy. And at last, the trevally is mine.
Alright, now watch this.
Quick brain and bleed, and here's the finished product. And oftentimes when you shoot one fish, the commotion will bring in others. This time was no exception. In the exact same spot where I was just sitting when I shot that trevally is now sitting a spangled emperor. Delicious fish, and it's a pretty good size, so I waste no time. The fish makes a run for the surface, and soon you'll see why it doesn't want to stick to the bottom. It's going ballistic, but I'm keeping it out of that rock. And during the fight, this fish tore its stomach, and its intestines are hanging out. And all these little bait fish are sitting trying to scavenge little pieces of its guts. And you guys remember that big moray eel? Well, it's right there, and it was watching everything go down. Sadly for the moray eel, however, the emperor is mine, and that eel ain't getting shit.
Looks like iridescent.
Yeah. Oh, they're gorgeous. They're really good.
Big.
With the shallows conquered, I head back to the ledge. You see, there's one more fish I am dying to shoot while I'm here. And I've been seeing the bait fish acting very, very finicky, meaning there's a good chance the fish I'm after is hanging around. So I go down, and I investigate. No signs of it on this dive, but I have a spidey sense that tells me it's very close by. And that spidey sense never lies, because on this next dive, like something straight from my wet dreams, in comes a monster king mackerel. I take my shot, and I miss by 3 centimeters. And I do the only thing I can do, which is flip the fish off. You can see the frustration, and almost as if it's coming back to flip me off, I flip it off one more time. Behind my mask, I look a little bit like this. And as the fish swims off into the blue, never to be seen by me again, I don't actually feel the depression or the heartbreak yet. You see, that came later when I was taking a shower. No. At this moment, I'm remembering this is what has me so addicted to spearfishing. It's not the ones that I shoot. It's the ones that get away that keep you coming back. And that analogy can be used for many things in life. I'm sure many of you guys have experienced the same. It's not about the fresh fish dinners, or landing the fish, the adrenaline rush, the fight. No. It's about the journey, and so is life. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you guys. Each and every one of my 37 subscribers. I would come to your houses and give you an Asian foot massage if I could. Later that night, we headed back to the city, and we gave that big coral trout to my favorite seafood restaurant, and they did some magic for us. The next day, Borat and I enjoyed that trevally, and the emperor, well, that was given to the restaurant as a gift from me. Not a single fish that you've seen in this video has gone to waste. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.